Hello and welcome to the podcast. Today I am joined by Paula BENEDI, who is the founder and CEO of Syngerised UK. Paula, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me here, Tom.
So, I think it's a good place to start for anyone who is not familiar with you. Just tell us a little bit about your story and how you started Syngerised UK.
Sure. So, it's funny because my career really started in the legal industry and I graduated from law with a first class honors degree. And the plan really was to become a corporate lawyer, have the 9 to 5 job. But what happened was that during my final year at university, I started to become extremely unwell. So I
Mm.
started to experience very chronic skin issues, chronic eczema, chronic digestive problems. I was suffering from chronic fatigue and cystic acne and loads of food allergies and food sensitivities. I mean, I was reacting to everything. And I had a lot of problems with my hormones as well. And so that for me, it was really affecting the quality of my life.
Mm.
And I tried everything under the sun because for me, it was predominantly the skin issues that were really affecting me because obviously as a young woman, I was very self-conscious
Yeah, of
about that.
course.
And the skin is not something that you can hide.
Yeah.
And so, I went from doctor to doctor and just bear in mind that living in London, I have access to the best doctors in the world. So I went to the best dermatologists, the best endocrinologists, and no one could figure it out because my blood work looked normal.
Yeah.
But I was feeling really sick. So I knew there was something going on. And so, I don't have anything against conventional doctors. I mean, I love GPs, I love MDs, and a lot of my personal clients are actually GPs. We just do different things.
Mm.
So for acute based medicine, conventional medicine is excellent. If I have a heart attack, if I get into a car accident, get me to the emergency room and
Mm.
get me acute care. And I'm so glad that we have it, right?
Definitely.
But if you have a chronic health condition, I'm sorry, you're just not getting well. There's no
Yeah.
hope for you, because you're just going to be put on medication. If you walk into your doctor's office with high cholesterol, they'll give you a statin. And they are not told, I mean, you're not told how to rebalance that
Mm.
cholesterol. And here's what statins do they actually cause cardiac myopathy. So you may not die from cholesterol clogging your arteries, but you may die from a weak heart. And so for me at that point, I was like, how can I get well?
Mm.
And I was introduced to the world of functional medicine and I started to run advanced testing, which is what we now call functional medicine lab testing. And so I started to do hair testing to look at my mineral imbalances, to look at heavy metal toxicities. I started to do saliva testing to look at my hormones, urine testing to look at how well my body's detoxifying. Am I missing any vitamins? Stool testing to look at my gut microbiome. And that changed my life. That was the only way that I could heal and the way that I healed. And so I just fell in love
Yeah.
with the space and I studied integrative medicine and that's what we do now at Synergize. So Synergize is the company that I founded. And what we do really is we help people overcome chronic
Amazing.
health issues and overcome unexplained
Yeah.
health problems, but we do that in a very personalized way. And we offer very data driven health solutions, meaning there's no one size fits all approach.
Mm.
We do these lab testing at home, very simple at home lab testing, because that is when we can identify what are the toxicities and what are the nutrient deficiencies of
Yeah.
this individual. And once we know what is going on, then we can go and address it.
I feel like I sort of fell down a little bit of a path myself, going to doctors, getting certain tests, and they're coming back clear. But deep down in my stomach, like my gut feeling, I knew something was wrong. I knew something wasn't right within my own body. And that's how I found you and where our relationship started. And like we're saying, going through the lab testing and going through the different things from like the stool samples to getting to know a little bit more about my gut microbiome and understanding that. I think that was like a huge game changer for me. And like you're saying, that we can really appreciate the doctors and stuff, but this type of information, it's not available. So I feel like this is where it definitely is a big game changer. What your service, what you're providing is you're finding root cause for people. You're not just sort of, here's a plaster, take this medication for it. It's going a little bit deeper and you're finding the root cause for people's illnesses.
Absolutely. And gut health, as you said, is a big part of that.
Yeah. So gut health is like it's something I'm so passionate about, and why you are too, because I've spent since it's like about 8 years now trying to heal my gut, and it's a long game trying to heal your gut. But why would you say gut health so important?
So, when we talk about gut health, I like to look at it, I like to break it down into three main parts. So, you know, we have to look at digestion, at absorption, and excretion. And what we see in our private practice is there's usually some sort of dysfunction in one of those three parts, and very often more than one. So, if we take digestion, for example, that is the breakdown of your food. So, if you eat a piece of meat, a piece of fruit, whatever it might be, you need to break that down,
Mm,
right? Sure, you have the mechanical digestion of your teeth,
mm,
but you have to break that down into its simplest forms possible so you can then absorb the nutrients.
mm.
And that, is dependent on stomach acid. So you need a good amount of stomach acid. And so if you're taking acid blockers, which doctors give you when you have acid reflux, I mean, you're not going to be able to produce that stomach acid, so you're not going to break it down. And you also need a good functioning pancreas to produce the enzymes to break down that food. So that's the first part. Then you want the absorption of nutrients, and the absorption is dependent on the digestion. So
Mm.
if you don't break down your food, you will not actually absorb the nutrients from your food. And so you might be eating the best organic diet in the world,
Yeah,
but you might still be nutrient deficient with a number of symptoms because you're not absorbing that.
yeah,
And then you have excretion. And excretion is major. If you're not having a full bowel movement every single day, then you're just not excreting properly. And I
mm,
don't care what doctors may tell you that it's okay to go to the bathroom 3 times a day. It's not. If you're eating every day, you have to go to the bathroom every single day. Because if you're not, you're going to reabsorb the toxins back up
toxins. Yeah,
again into your system.
mm,
And so that's the foundation. But then you have your microbiome. You have trillions of bacteria in your gut, which is what you're talking about,
mm,
right? And every single bacteria, they have a specific role in your body. And that is just so crucial for you to understand. Because when you start to get an imbalance between the good and bad bacteria, which is also known as dysbiosis, that is a recipe for disaster. And you can get dysbiosis from antibiotics, birth control, alcohol, stress, poor food combining, toxins, whatever it might be. And once that starts happening, there's so much research that shows that that can actually trigger a host of problems in the body. I mean, inflammation, skin problems, digestive issues, migraines,
tetanus.
autoimmune conditions,
Yeah,
even cancer. I mean, this
mm,
is very well documented. But let's take mental health, for example,
definitely.
which, and I know you talk a lot about that as
Mm,
well. I mean, mental health, think about it. You have a gut brain axis. Your
mm,
gut and brain are connected physically and chemically. Chemically through neurotransmitters. So, you produce serotonin, which is your happy hormone. 95% of serotonin is produced where? In the
yeah,
gut. What about GABA? GABA is so important to regulate anxiety levels. GABA is also produced by the microbes in your gut. And then you have the physical connection. You have a massive nerve called the vagus nerve that connects your
mm,
gut and your brain. So you can say all the affirmations that you want, but if your physiology is
yeah.
out of whack, that's going to affect your psychology. And that's what most people don't understand.
I get a lot of people asking me about supplements, but I always go back to the gut because, like what you were saying, you can take all the supplements in the world, but if your gut's not intact, you're not going to be absorbing any supplements. So the
100%.
biggest thing to do is focus on whole foods and heal the gut first before you start secondary thinking about supplements. But I think that's just leading on to sort of like the next question I'm going to ask you. Certain foods, like what certain foods do you think like impact the gut in a positive way?
So, when it comes to foods, um, before we even start talking about the good foods, I
Mm,
always like to talk about the ones that are not that
let's get
beneficial,
into it.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I am such a proponent of a personalized approach.
Mm,
So, we all have food sensitivities, right? If you have a lot of leaky gut, which we can talk about it later, you're going to have more food sensitivities. And if you're consuming foods that you're sensitive to on an everyday basis, you're going to be creating a lot of inflammation in your gut, and that's going to stop you from healing your gut. Now, how can you identify your food sensitivities? By running a very simple at home blood prick test. And it will tell you, even things like carrots and sweet potatoes, which are super healthy foods, you might actually be reacting to it from an IgG perspective. What that means is that you can eat the carrot today, and it can take up to 72 hours later to experience a reaction. So it could be a skin rash, it could be some brain fog, some fatigue, a sleep problem, heart palpitations, whatever it might be. So, first, if you can, run a food sensitivity test.
Mm.
Now, if we talk about the foundation, the number one food that I always ask people to eliminate is gluten.
Okay.
And there's a lot of controversy
For the bread lovers.
on this. Yes. So, it's funny because a lot of health experts, they actually recommend sourdough, right? And I just can't agree with that because, sure, a 3-ingredient organic piece of sourdough is going to be better than a piece of toast that is super refined and very processed, sure. But my problem with gluten is the protein.
Okay.
Because the protein, there's so much research that suggests that the protein can actually cause leaky gut. So, if you're watching this or if you're listening to this and if you don't know what leaky gut means, think about your intestines as like this cheesecloth, right? And so this cheesecloth kind of like prevents certain molecules to pass into your bloodstream, okay? But it allows the good stuff to get into your bloodstream, meaning your vitamins, your minerals, your amino acids, all of that. Now, if you start to damage that cheesecloth and you start to get bigger holes, what happens is that now you're getting all of the bacteria, the toxins, the large proteins, all of that leaking into your bloodstream. And your immune system is like, oh my God, what is going on? Right? And it's trying to protect you. And so it sends these inflammatory signals, which create a lot of inflammation. So, I have a big issue with gluten. Second one would be artificial sweeteners for sure.
Just touching on the leaky gut.
Yeah.
I heard an analogy that really helped me understand it a better. Was imagine if you've got a couple of nails and you throw a couple of nails down the toilet and you flush the toilet. That's not going to have any impact on the toilet. But if you're consistently throwing nails down the toilet, eventually it's going to cause some damage. And what is in the toilet obviously is the toxins, is the bad waste. It's going to start to leak. I thought that's
I
exactly
love
it.
that.
Yeah.
I love that. That is such a great analogy for
Yeah.
sure. I mean, if you have leaky gut,
Yeah.
you're constantly spilling things into your bloodstream.
Definitely, yeah. Toxins,
Constantly.
yeah.
And so gluten is number one. Number two would be artificial sweeteners. So, you find it in fizzy drinks, all of that. Number three would probably be, I would say, inflammatory oils. So things
Okay.
like sunflower oil and canola oil. A lot of people are cooking with that. And, if you're cooking with that, please do yourself a favor and stop because, just because it has a high smoking point, it does not
Yeah.
mean that it's not creating inflammatory compounds. So that's like, I would say my top three that are.
Would you recommend any oils? What oils would you
Yes.
recommend?
So I usually recommend cooking with saturated fats. So that
Okay.
would be like coconut oil, like a
Yeah,
good quality
nice.
coconut oil, or maybe maybe ghee. Ghee
Okay,
is,
ghee,
is
yeah.
excellent.
Mm.
So we all used to think in the health space that monounsaturated fat like olive oil was not great for cooking, but there's now new research coming out that suggests that a good quality organic cold press extra virgin olive oil is actually okay to cook with because it looks like the antioxidants kind of like destroy any free radicals that are created when you actually cook with olive oil.
Okay.
So, I'm okay with cooking with olive oil.
Okay.
I don't have a problem with that. And then in terms of like the best foods, so people always want to know, like, what's the best food? Like,
Yeah.
oh my God, right? What's the best food? Now, there's no best food, but there are certain foods that are beneficial. So I would definitely encourage people to increase their fiber intake, which I know that you spoke about that
This morning.
this
Yeah,
morning.
Yeah.
Yeah. So because fiber feeds your gut microbiome,
Yeah.
right? And so I always recommend, guys, aim for 30 grams daily. Females aim for 35 grams daily. And, you can find fiber in pretty much all whole foods.
Yeah. Even just coming back to like regular bowel movements, it's important that we
So
include fiber.
crucial.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
important. And you find it in whole grains, vegetables. You find it in, I love getting my fiber from pulses. So like
Okay.
chickpeas, beans, lentils, they are excellent for your gut microbiome. And some people are like, yeah, but Paula, I can't digest beans and it gives me gas, it gives me bloating. Why would I eat those? And they go on a FODMAP diet, but that's not addressing the problem.
Yeah.
That's like putting a band-aid on the problem, like fix your gut,
Yeah.
and you'll be able to digest these foods, right? Secondly, I would say just eat as many plant foods as possible. Like eat a wide variety of plant foods. I always say try to aim for 30 plant foods every week.
Okay.
And people are like, 30? That's impossible. It's not, because think about it. It could be spices, it could be nuts, seeds, vegetables, whole grains. I mean, there's just so much variety. The more variety that you get, the more variety you're going to get in your gut microbiome.
Yeah.
And then the last one that I would say, it would probably be increasing your food's high in omega 3s because
Okay.
those are anti inflammatory.
Mm.
So, where do you find that? Well, you find that in oily fish. So, mackerel, sardines, anchovies. Salmon is great as well.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm going to say next,
Yeah,
right?
definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
It has to be wild
Gotta be.
salmon. It
Has to
has to
be.
be. It
Yeah.
has to be. Because if it's not wild salmon, what happens? It's going to be farmed salmon. If it doesn't say on the pack wild, it's not wild.
Yeah.
Let's face it. And farmed salmon is actually really high in omega 6. So the opposite of what you
Yeah.
want.
It's not what you want.
It's, yeah, you have to be very careful. If you're vegan, you can get it from walnuts, chia seeds, hemp hearts, flax seeds are great, but the conversion is not as good, though, I have to
Yeah.
say. So, you know, I don't consume oily wild caught fish 4 to 5 times a week, which means that I need to supplement because we test omega 3 levels in our practice. And unless you are consuming oily, fatty fish 4 to 5 times a week, you're not going to have the
Yeah.
proper ratio of omega 6 to
Mm.
omega 3s. That's just something that everybody needs to know.
Yeah. I think just getting back with the salmon, like I love salmon, but I think the packaging starting to get a little bit more tricky now because it's sort of like hiding if it's farmed or not. But I think the big thing is definitely eating wild salmon. For me personally as well, you can taste the difference so much from farm salmon to wild salmon.
And
It's
and
amazing.
it
A
looks completely
completely different color.
different.
Yeah.
Like, the
Yeah.
color is just significantly
Yeah.
different.
So when we first met originally, you come down to Liverpool and you put on a seminar. And I still to this day said this to you, get people speaking to me about how much their mind was blown about toxins, which was the topic. So how do toxins affect the gut microbiome?
I mean, the toxins affect everything,
Yeah,
not just the gut
yeah,
microbiome, right? But the reality is that we now live in a world that is just loaded with toxins more
yeah.
than ever
So much
before.
exposure.
So much exposure. I
Yeah.
mean, there are studies that suggest that we all have at least 70 carcinogenic toxins in our body, which is insane.
Wow.
You can find toxins in umbilical cords of babies. So babies are being born into this world
Wow.
with toxins already because they are being passed by their mother,
Yeah.
right? From their mother. So it's just insane. I mean, the average woman leaves their house in the morning with about 120 toxins from an average of 12 cosmetic products that she uses on a
Wow.
daily basis, from deodorants, toothpaste, facial cleansers, mascara. I
Yeah.
mean, you name it.
Shampoos, everything.
Everything,
Yeah, yeah.
everything. And so, and these toxins, and that's just one source of toxins. But if you think about it, we get toxins from antibiotics, medications, pollution. We have heavy metals. We have tap water, which is massive. A lot of people drinking tap water, and
Never drank tap water since the seminar.
yeah,
Yeah,
you,
stayed away
you don't
from
know
it.
where the water is coming
No, that
from.
completely blew my mind, to be honest.
It's
Yeah.
yeah, and it has been tested, and it shows how many toxins there are in tap water. So
Yeah.
get yourself a good quality water filter. The
Water
same thing
filter,
with
yeah.
shower filters. You're breathing in chlorine from the showers. Pesticides in food,
Mm.
right? And so that's why it's so important to buy organic. So it's the small things, but long term, it makes a massive, massive difference.
Yeah. So we're just speaking about like the exposure. So can you give some viewers like an insight of like I know we've covered a few there, but like a couple more different things of how we are exposed to toxins. So we've covered um certain cosmetic products, waters, um even another big thing as well. I know this sounds a little bit doom and gloom, but even the air we breathe sometimes. That's
Yeah, for
why
sure.
I'm such a big advocate of just getting outdoors. That's the first line of defense for your gut
And getting
microbiome.
plants in your home. Plants are
Yes,
great for
definitely.
for filtering and air filters in your home. So important.
That's a good tip, especially for the bedroom as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
where like put an air filter wherever you spend the most time in
yeah.
your bedroom.
Have you got an air filter in your
I
home?
do, and I
Yeah.
always recommend looking for a HEPA air filter.
Okay.
That those are the best air filters, and it also helps with mold mycotoxins because
Okay.
a lot of homes here in the UK they have mold, and that's obviously very toxic as well. So it really helps with that filtering process.
So for the viewers listening, what are certain like common symptoms of toxin exposure? So people have a little bit more of an idea of what
Yeah,
effects it's having on the body.
for sure. So anything that is inflammatory based, so
Okay.
think it could affect your mood, it could affect your sleep, especially if you're waking up between the hours of 1 and 3 a.m. in the morning, because
Mm.
that is when your liver is working the most to detoxify. Your libido, your sex drive, your energy, your skin, your joints, right? If you have a lot of joint pain. And a big one as well that most people don't know about is weight gain. Because when you're exposed to a lot of toxins, your liver does the best that it can to filter these toxins. But what happens is that it gets to a point that your liver just cannot do it anymore.
Yeah.
And these toxins, they are stored inside your fat cells, your adipose tissue. And that is why we know that your fat cells are actually 300 times more toxic than your bloodstream, right? So, because the body is very wise, the body doesn't want all of these toxins just swimming around the bloodstream, right? And so, what happens is that these fat cells, they begin to swell and swell and swell, and now you have someone that looks like they're holding to more body fat than they actually are, and they start to
Mm.
feel puffy and swollen and cellulite. That is because you literally have toxic water weight in your body.
Well, yeah, I think certain people, and again, I've been suffered with this in the past. People have these certain symptoms, and it just becomes the everyday normal for them.
Hmm.
It just becomes like certain joint pains, like skin issues, inflammation, bloating, and it just becomes like a part of their normal day without them even realizing. Like,
And they think it's normal,
exactly, yeah.
but it's not normal.
No,
Just
it's
because it's
not.
common, it does not mean that it's
Yeah,
normal.
yeah, definitely. So, for anyone who's listening who's got maybe certain symptoms that we're discussing now, what would be a certain way to, or like any methods that you could recommend to help
I mean,
detoxify the
number
body?
one, I always say run functional medicine labs because
Okay.
there's no guesswork. I
Yeah.
mean, in our practice, there's no guesswork. We work with people that are not coming off a McDonald's diet. We work with people with chronic health problems. They've
Yeah.
seen multiple practitioners before, and we are the last people that they see. And so, why would we test? Why are we going to try fad diets and try supplements and try like why? Why don't we get to the root cause of the problem? Let's run these labs. Let's see
Find
what's
out
going on
specifically. Yeah.
and see what exactly is going on in your body.
Mm.
And in 12 weeks, 12 to 15 weeks, you're going to get well.
Yeah. And it's similar for myself. I probably have never felt. I think a big thing that I suffered with in the past was, or still to this day sometimes, was brain fog. When I was following the reset and then into like the nutrition
The
plan from
functional
you,
medicine detox is a game
wow,
changer
yeah,
because that's
honestly,
literally opening your fat cells, taking out those toxins and just
yeah,
removing them
so
from the
much
body.
mental clarity, like really reduced the brain fog. And then another big thing and a huge advocate of it, and I know you are too, is fasting. So
Let's talk about
let's
that.
get into it, yeah.
Yeah.
Because fasting's like something I get a lot of messages over because I do promote it a lot. So we get into fasting, and fasting help detoxify the body.
Yeah, I mean, fasting is excellent. So, a lot of people ask me, like, why would you just not eat
Yeah,
on purpose? Like, why would you do that? And so, I mean, the research, in this field is just remarkable. I mean, you can really transform your health with fasting, and
amazing.
especially when it comes to longevity and
Yeah,
anti-aging.
longevity, yeah.
And so, the number one reason as to why people fast is because they want the benefits of autophagy.
Mm,
And so autophagy kicks in when there's no new food coming into the body. Because think about it, when you consume food, it takes about 20% of energy to digest that food. And for some people, it's even more
mm,
if you have a very sluggish digestive system. Now, if you're not using that energy for digestion, your
yeah,
body is going to take that energy and it's going to clean house. It's
yeah.
going to go after cancer cells, necrotic tissue, damaged cells, bacteria, viruses, everything. So if you're looking to lower down inflammation levels, if you're looking to, balance blood sugar
Just
levels,
touching on autophagy. So that's basically, for anyone who's not too sure what that
yeah,
is, it's just basically the body looking elsewhere for energy. So it'll go into like
it's using that
cells that aren't
energy
working,
and
dead
it's
cells, and just
literally,
clearing
yeah,
them
it's
out for
recycling
energy,
everything.
recycling
It's
energy,
getting
yeah.
rid of anything
Mm,
that should not be there.
yeah,
It's literally cleaning the body from the inside.
yeah,
And so that's why it's so beneficial. And so I tell people, like, listen, if you want to lower down your inflammation levels, if you want to increase your growth hormone production, if you want to increase your libido, if you want to improve your skin, if you want to improve your mood, your energy, burn body fat, more optimally, boost your metabolism.
mm,
Fasting is an excellent way to do that, and it's free.
yeah,
It's free. It's cheaper, because you don't have
yeah,
to eat food, so it's actually cheaper.
it is. So a couple of weeks ago, I set a challenge for me and clients to do a 72-hour fast, a 3-day fast. And at first, when I put it to the group chat, I was thinking there's not many people going to be up for this. And there was 18 people.
18
18 people,
people,
and out of the
unbelievable.
18, 15 people completed the
Oh my
72-hour fast.
god.
And like the feedback I was getting from them, even just like a big thing, I know this is off topic from like, but the big thing everyone was saying is how much they appreciate food as well, because we sit down so much eating meals, you know, all day, every day,
We
and
take it for
I never
granted.
really like sit and appreciate what the food that we're
That's
eating.
exactly it.
But one of the girls come in and she was saying like she feel like she could achieve anything. Now she just achieved a 3-day fast because how much mental resilience that give her.
That's it. It's the
Yeah,
mental resilience.
definitely.
You realize how strong you are mentally.
Yeah,
And that's a big part of it. I love it. I actually just did a 36-hour fast this weekend,
amazing.
and I feel better than ever.
Yeah. I think that again coming back to the brain fog, but this is one of the biggest things that I've realized as well, is it gives me so much mental clarity when I
Mhm,
fast, and like my energy. I feel like my energy is clean, a lot
mhm,
cleaner. Where I do love coffee, so I feel like sometimes I can rely on a coffee to pick me up of a morning.
mhm,
But when I fast, it's just my energy's clean. It's
mhm,
and it's sustained. It's
mhm.
not sort of like up and down.
It's not
It's a nice linear
fluctuating.
energy. Yeah. So back on fasting then. So what are common mistakes that you see people make when they fast?
Common mistakes. Oh, big mistake that I see is obsessing on the 16-hour fast. You know,
Yeah.
the 16 to 8 method
Amazing,
of
yeah.
eating,
Mm,
within an 8-hour window and fasting for 16 hours. And I'll tell you why. Because as you know, we test a lot in our private practice. We do
mm,
hundreds of tests. And we see this 16-hour fast really affecting females. We see their hormones shutting down because when you wake up in the morning, very few people take the morning off to meditate or, to
yeah,
do yoga. They're on and they have to get their kids ready to
straight to it,
school,
yeah.
commute to work. They have to, sit in traffic, whatever it might be. And
Mm,
so the body perceives this as a stressor because the body cannot differentiate a stressor from an angry boss
yeah,
to a stressor of like a real life danger of like a lion, a wild animal chasing you, right? And so what happens is that your body will produce cortisol, the stress hormone.
mm,
When you produce cortisol, you produce glucose. Why? Because you need the glucose to burn so you can run away from the wild animal.
mm,
So the moment that you produce glucose, you're not in a fasted state anymore.
yeah,
So you can actually spike your glucose levels without actually eating, and people are not getting the benefits from fasting. And what I've seen in my practice with females is that their thyroid starts to shut down. And what happens when the thyroid shuts down? Well, you start to see hair thinning, your libido starts to drop, you start to have issues with your sleep, you start to gain a little bit of weight, especially around the abdominal area. You start to experience cold hands and feet, you start to experience constipation and low mood. And so that's not such a problem with men,
mm,
but with females it is because the body is very wise. And the body, a female body goes, why would we bring another human being? Right? Because we see a lot of problems with fertility
yeah,
when it comes to, fasting, like long fasting, keto diets, low carb diets for females. And because why would you bring another baby if there's just so much stress, if it's lacking, the
yeah,
resources are lacking. And so the 16-hour fast for females is something that I just can't recommend.
okay,
And another big mistake that I see is people choosing to skip breakfast instead of skipping dinner. Now, I truly believe that you can do fasting without having to skip anything. You can just bring your dinner a little bit earlier and you can get a good overnight
yeah, just
fast
fits it
in.
in the window.
Yeah, but if you really want to skip a meal, don't skip breakfast because your cortisol levels in the morning are actually already quite high, right? And so why would you bring it even higher? Because fasting is a stressor to the body. It's better if you skip your dinner because, when you skip your dinner, your sleep quality will actually improve because you're not diverting energy towards digestion.
Yeah,
You're actually using that energy towards to repair, to heal, and to rejuvenate.
mm,
Your HRV, which is a really important metric for like your overall health and your well-being, will increase. And you can test this for yourself. Like if you have gadgets like the Oura Ring, whatever it might be, you can see, like skip your dinner and just tell me, like how was your sleep? How was
yeah,
your HRV? So those are like the two big mistakes that I see. So I'm a big proponent of an overnight 12-hour fast for every single human being
okay,
alive. Um, Now, if you want to fast a little bit longer, go for it, but just make sure that you're starting your day slowly. So, if you wake up and you meditate and you go for a light walk, you can continue fasting. But the
mm,
moment that you start your day and your day starts to get busy, you have to break that fast.
yeah,
And in our community we do seasonally 48-hour liquid fasts, and then I obviously do the 36-hour water fast as well.
Yeah, I think as well, just being a little bit more flexible with your times. Sometimes I get clients who they're so married to certain times, and when they don't
Hmm.
hit these certain times, or the day maybe hasn't gone to plan, or they might be going out and eating a little bit later, they sort of just stop fasting. Is where I say be a little bit more flexible with your times.
Exactly.
Yeah, definitely. The digestive system, and we were speaking about obviously people being like in a stressed state. And when they're in this stressed state, and this is something that I've only learned recently myself, because people are on the go all the time, they're eating food, they're on the move, and they're not sitting down to actually just stop,
That is so important.
sit, and eat. So when you're in this fight or flight nervous
Mm.
system, your body's not even digesting the food.
Hmm.
That's why it's so important. And again, we spoke about breath work before the podcast, but like using the breath work as a tool to relax the body and bring it into a parasympathetic state, because people are eating this food and the
I'm
body's not even
so
digesting
glad
it.
that you're speaking about this,
Yeah,
because more people need to know about this for
definitely.
sure. And something that I do whenever I feel stressed,
Yeah,
I refuse to eat. I'm not gonna, because what's the point?
yeah,
I'm not going to digest the food. Or maybe I'll have a smoothie. Smoothie
yeah.
is like easy
Easy.
to digest,
Mm,
But I'm not gonna sit down to a proper meal if I'm stressed, because I'm not gonna digest that. Everything shuts down.
yeah,
Your digestive juices, your enzymes, your stomach acid, your motility, it shuts down. You're not going to digest that food, and that's going to ferment. It's going to create very toxic metabolites. It's going to feed the bacteria. It's just not good. It's so important for you to be so present with your food.
definitely.
Sit down, chew your food properly, feel the texture. Can you smell it? Not in front of your laptop or your computer. Like, it's so important. And for you to take your time. When I go out for dinner with my friends, they make fun of me because they say, "My God, you eat so slowly."
Yeah.
Like, I don't eat slowly. I eat like how it's supposed to be eaten. Like,
Mm,
I'm eating this way because otherwise I'm not going to be able to absorb the nutrients,
yeah.
right?
Even just chewing your food, how important that is. That's the first line of breaking your food down, adding the saliva in, which is then just going to help digest the food properly.
You have enzymes in your
Yeah,
saliva.
yeah, yeah,
If you're not chewing your food, you're not mixing those enzymes with your food, that isn't going to help break down that food.
yeah. So there's a couple variations of fasting, and again, I get a lot of questions on these and the crossover of them, but the difference between intermittent and time restricted eating.
Yeah, so time restrictive eating is a type of intermittent fasting.
Mm,
And the only difference really is that with intermittent fasting, if you're following the 16 to 8, for example, as long as you're eating within that 8-hour window, it doesn't matter the time that you eat, right? So you could eat at 3 a.m. in the morning, which is not normal. That's not how our ancestors used to eat.
mm,
So I don't love that. But I am more of a proponent of the time restrictive eating because it encourages you to eat and to support your diurnal rhythm.
mm.
So you're only supposed to eat during daylight hours, right? Which
Okay.
is very important because that is how our ancestors used to eat. And that is what is normal for the human body.
Yeah, and I feel like probably where people slip up most is eating overnight before bed. And
Mm,
coming back onto what you were saying before, I did have a Whoop band, and I noticed a considerable amount of difference when I was eating before bed compared to stopping a couple of hours before bed. Because again, just coming back to your gut's then digesting food, and it's working on that system instead of helping repair and rejuvenate your body.
absolutely. I mean, my best metrics when it comes to sleep
Yeah,
and my HRV is either I skip dinner or I have dinner extremely early.
yeah. So another couple of common questions that I get asked is, what can people consume during a fast?
Yeah. So it's usually anything that doesn't contain calories because
Okay.
calories will break your fast.
Mm,
So I am a big proponent of keeping yourself very hydrated. I know some people do dry fasts. I don't love that. I think it's very stressful for the body. But I do think that drinking a lot of water is important. But the thing is, if you only drink water, you can actually eliminate a lot of your electrolytes, and that can make you feel a little bit dizzy and like foggy and lightheaded. And so, what I usually do is I add a little pinch of good quality Himalayan salt
nice.
to
Mm,
my water. And that's a very easy and convenient way of
yeah.
getting all of your minerals and your electrolytes. Some people drink coffee. I don't recommend that because the whole point is to give your liver a little bit of a break,
Yeah,
right? And your liver needs to break down coffee.
yeah.
But technically, because coffee doesn't have calories, then you can
That's black
actually,
coffee.
yeah, black
Yeah,
coffee. Obviously, if you
not a
drink a
cappuccino. Yeah,
cappuccino,
with chocolate on.
then then that doesn't really apply, right?
Yeah, yeah. And then the last question on fasting is, what's a breakfast with? What's the best
Oh, I'm
foods?
so glad that you asked this question.
Yeah,
So glad because when you fast for whatever it might be, 16 hours, 18 hours, 24 hours, you're looking forward to that meal. And most people, they sit to this
definitely.
massive meal, but that's like such a shock to
I've
the
been there.
digestion. I've
Yeah.
been there too. It's just not a good idea.
Yeah.
So think about it. Your digestive system has been asleep for so many hours. Wake it up gently. So try to break it with liquid foods. So
Okay.
soups, broths, smoothies, maybe even lightly steamed vegetables, right? So, the texture is very important and the quantity as well, but also the macronutrients that you choose. Now, I don't love breaking your fast with carby foods and foods that are high in sugar, because that's just going to spike your blood sugar
Just basically
levels.
foods that are easy to digest.
Yeah, but
Wake it
also
back
making
up.
sure that it's not very sugary
Okay.
or carby. So I tend to focus a lot on the fiber
Yeah.
and the protein.
Mm.
Right? So for example, I choose to break my fast with a smoothie, but like not a smoothie full of sugar and full of tropical fruits and no protein.
Mm.
A smoothie high in protein, high in fiber, with berries that are low
Berries, yeah.
glycemic, and I
Amazing.
sip on that smoothie over a period of 60 to 90 minutes to slowly release that blood sugar.
Yeah. Amazing. I think blueberries are my go-to if I'm ever making a smoothie.
They're the best.
The
They're
best.
one of the
Full of
foods that are
antioxidants, yeah.
exactly,
One of the best foods you can eat.
for
And
sure.
they're lovely. That's still usual smoothie as well, to be fair. So I think like there is a lot of conflicting information now about, and like I don't even like to use the word diet because I feel like if I say diet to clients, it's sort
People
of
yeah.
yeah, is where it's a way of living.
Mm.
It's a lifestyle. But there's so much information out there that what we should and shouldn't be doing in terms of food, even with drink as well. But for me personally, and what I feel that's worked best for me, it's just a whole food approach. Like
Mhm.
that just makes the most sense. We've been on
Yeah.
this earth for however long you want to say, thousands, millions of years. And that for me just makes the most sense. Eating what's come from the earth. So whole foods, why are they so important?
So let's explain what whole foods are, right? So whole foods are foods that haven't been processed, that haven't been changed in any way, and that they are free of any sort of inflammatory artificial ingredients,
Mm,
right? And what's the opposite of that? Well, junk foods, processed foods. And what are those? They are empty calories.
mm,
They don't provide any nutrition to your body. And they are literally they poison your cells. They cause rapid aging, they decrease your longevity, they create a lot of inflammation, they increase your risk for all sorts of chronic diseases. And so it's so important for you to ensure that you are always choosing whole foods. Always. It's just so, so crucial to nourish your cells.
yeah. One ingredient. A whole food. Just one ingredient.
That's exactly it.
That's it.
I love that.
And we touched on it before, but again, this is something that's really helped me is meal timing. So we spoke about the meal timing before you go to bed. So restricting eating food, say 2 to 3 hours before you go to bed. But then throughout the day as well, I've stopped snacking myself personally. And I feel like now I enjoy my meals so much more because I am
Mhm,
actually hungry when I'm sitting down. I'm not snacking on bits and
mhm,
bobs. And again, most of the time it's empty calories, not providing
mhm,
nothing to the body, cereal bars and stuff like that
mhm.
what people like generally snack on. So like, do you want to just touch on mealtime and how important that is?
For sure. So I think, obviously we touched on making sure that you finish your last meal, ideally 3 hours before bed.
Mm,
Um, but it's really important for us to respect meal timing and not be constantly snacking, because if you think about it, every time that you eat, you're spiking your blood sugar.
yeah.
If you're constantly eating, your blood sugar is always going to be elevated, and that's going to create a lot of inflammation in your body.
Mm,
But your insulin is also going to be elevated, which means that you're not going to tap into body fat. So even people that are eating low calorie diets, they're not seeing any benefits because their blood sugar is constantly elevated, right? And your digestive system as well is constantly on. Think about it. It takes at least 3 hours, 2 to 3 hours to digest a meal,
Yeah.
sometimes even four.
Which makes so much sense. If you're just constantly topping up the digestive system, it's never
Yeah,
getting a
you're
break.
literally adding undigested food on top of partially digested food. Imagine the mess
Yeah.
that that creates. And so I'm a big believer of waiting at least 3.5 hours, ideally between 4 to 5 hours, but minimum 3.5 hours between meals. So breakfast, lunch, and dinner. If you exercise a lot, if you're an athlete, then maybe, additional meals might be necessary,
Mm.
but just respect that window, that 3.5 hour window.
Yeah. So a typical day for you and your meals, how would that play out? Obviously, you've discussed your breakfast smoothie and I'm following you from social media. You're a big advocate of the smoothie. It's helping
Mhm.
wake your digestive system up of a morning. It's a real easy start for your body of a morning. But what was a typical day look like for you?
Yeah, so let me touch on smoothies. Now, I think it's very detrimental for you to skip breakfast.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. So, as I was saying, when you wake up in the morning, you're usually not taking the morning off to meditate and you have a lot of stressors. And when you have a lot of stressors, you spike up cortisol. If you skip breakfast, you're spiking up cortisol even more
Mm.
because that is a stressor to the body. So, I always say it's so important for you to have your breakfast, but not all breakfasts are made equally because think about it. If you produce cortisol, you produce glucose, right? If you produce glucose, you produce insulin. If you produce insulin, you produce something called interleukin 6, which then causes inflammation. And so I am such a believer of breakfast. But again, if you're going to consume cereal or if you're going to consume, processed food, then you might as well just skip your breakfast,
Yeah.
right? And a big issue that I see in my private practice is people not having enough protein at breakfast.
Mm.
And that's going to throw your blood sugar out of whack, your metabolism out of whack, everything. But when I say protein, people immediately think bacon or sausages. That's not what I'm referring to because those are processed. And even
Yeah.
eggs, believe it or not. So it's not that I'm against eggs. Eggs are loaded with nutrition. However, they are a difficult to digest, they not difficult to digest food, but they are a hard protein. So
Yeah.
what your digestive system has been asleep. Are you gonna wake it up with
Yeah.
such hard to digest foods? And we run hundreds of food sensitivity tests in our practice, and we see eggs elevated all the time, which means that you can consume eggs today
Yeah.
and get a reaction up to 72 hours later.
I'm laughing because eggs are my go-to
I
breakfast
know that.
everywhere I go.
I
And if they
know
came
that.
back that I was sensitive to eggs, it'd kill
I,
me.
I want you to run a food
I definitely
sensitivity
will.
test.
I'll have to. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
And so, yeah, so when it comes to breakfast, I think a smoothie is one of the best things. I have
Okay.
this rule of liquid before lunch,
Okay.
always liquid before lunch. And the reason for that is number one, they're very hydrating. You've
Mm.
been, you spent almost half a day without drinking any water throughout the night. Your brain is 85% water. You need water for your cognition, to
Mm.
function, to focus, for energy in your brain. Your blood is 90% water. It's so important for you to hydrate first thing in the morning.
Yeah,
Second, it's very
definitely.
cleansing. Your body detoxifies throughout the night. And so in the morning, you have a lot of toxins that are built up. And something that like a smoothie, it really cleanses the system.
Yeah.
And then secondly, is easy to digest. As I said, your digestive system is asleep. Wake it up gently. Not with eggs, not with bread, not with bacon, not with salmon, none of that. Something easy to digest. Third, it helps you get to that 7 to 9 servings of fruits and veggies every day. Because if you want clear skin, if
Mm.
you want to sleep well, if you want good mood, if you want strong libido, if you want to live a long healthy life, if you want to protect yourself against cancer, which everybody should be worried about because statistics suggest that by 2030 one in two
1 and 2, yeah.
people will get cancer. So, and the only way to protect yourself against that is literally by consuming your 7 to 9 servings of fruits and
Yeah.
vegetables every day, predominantly vegetables.
Mm.
Full stop, like period, right? That is the only anti-inflammatory diet that we know of. And so, if you don't consume your fruits or your veggies at breakfast, which you can very easily do with a smoothie, like 2 cups of berries, maybe a cup of fresh spinach in there, that's three already. But if you're not doing that, how are you going to get all of that between lunch and dinner? It's very
Yeah.
difficult, right? And so, I am just like such a proponent of smoothies. I
Okay.
really are. And so, I start my day with a smoothie. It's usually low glycemic. I'm not talking about mango, banana, like no protein, right?
Yeah. So you spoke about protein. That's what I wanted to mention as well. So I recommend 30 grams of protein minimum. What
Per
would
meal?
for breakfast?
For breakfast. So it depends. If you are someone like yourself
Mm.
that works out a lot, then I
Yeah.
would definitely suggest 30 grams as well. But otherwise, I think that 20 grams, it is a good starting point for
Okay.
most people. And, it's funny because a lot of people, because we always take a very comprehensive intake form. You remember when you filled an intake
Yeah.
form.
Yeah.
And we see people, they say, oh, yeah, I have, yogurt and berries for breakfast. And I'm like, well, it's great. I mean, if you're getting, a dairy free yogurt, nasties free, like a very clean yogurt with some berries, easy to digest, your
Mm.
berries, your antioxidants, your fiber, where's your protein coming from? Oh, yeah, some nuts and seeds. And like, but that's not
Not
getting your
enough.
20
Yeah.
grams. It's just not. And so my morning, as I said, my smoothie, I do my daily essential formula, which is a product that I formulated that has 25 grams of organic pea protein, a wide range of vitamins and minerals in their most activated form. It's an excellent product. And so I add a few tablespoons of that. My low glycemic fruits. So I love wild blueberries. I mean,
Mm.
wild blueberries are so powerful, even more powerful than regular organic blueberries because they have more antioxidants and they taste better as well.
Yeah.
I do some healthy fats, so I love MCT oil, for example,
Mm.
but I love avocados, coconut oil, everything. And that gives me everything. It gives me my healthy fats, my fiber, my protein, and my
Yeah.
antioxidants, everything. And also, I usually add some fresh organic kale or fresh spinach.
I think finding like a good routine, a quality routine of a morning where if people like certain structure, then they understand that they need to, or like they've got a recipe for a smoothie, and then trading out, like we're saying, for the smoothie from the eggs, the bacon, the
It's
sausages,
taking the thought out of it.
but how much better you're going to feel
Exactly.
and you're going to perform, not only physically, but also mentally. You're going to be a lot more sharper if you're just giving yourself the best start to the day like that, which is how important is that? Which,
It sets a tone
yeah,
for the rest of your day.
definitely, yeah,
That's the reality. And
yeah,
so I feel like my absolute best self,
yeah,
like every single day.
good,
Like every single day because I take care. And people ask me
yeah,
like, "What do you do for your skin?
mm,
What do you do to like feel so energized all the time?" Like, and I'm like, honestly, I just take care of my inner environment.
yeah,
That's what I do. And my lunch is, I'm a very busy woman. I don't have time to cook lunch like
mm,
you and like most people.
mm,
And so I either eat a something that I prepped, so I
yeah,
meal prep a lot, or I have another smoothie
yeah,
because a smoothie is like having a whole food meal, right? So if I'm on the go, I'm gonna have a smoothie. Otherwise, I will sit down. But something very simple. My meal preps are literally two vegetables, source of protein. It's always vegan. My lunch is always vegan, and I'll tell you why. Animal protein takes a lot of energy to digest, and
okay,
usually at lunch we're all busy. We're running around, and so our digestive system is not as strong. And so I prefer to have a plant-based meal that it's easier to digest at lunch. So for me, as long as I'm getting my healthy fats like avocado, olive oil, my protein and fiber from my beans, chickpeas, lentils, and my vegetables, I'm good.
mm,
Dinner is the only time that I actually cook. And so that is generally sometimes I might eat, a little bit of wild caught salmon with
mm,
some veggies. Sometimes I make a plant-based curry, but for me it's always about, am I getting my protein? Am I getting my fiber? Am I getting 2 to 3 servings of vegetables? Am I getting my healthy fats?
yeah,
If that's a yes, I'm good.
yeah. Okay, so just touching on as well, we've just been speaking about prepping, how important prepping
Mhm.
food is. I think that if you do want to see results and you do want to start to feel better in yourself, if you have got a busy lifestyle, or even if you are working in offices, I think prepping food is essential. But for the people who don't want to feel so restricted and you want to start to eat out, have you got any sort of recommendations for people who want to have a little bit more of a fast food approach if they are on the go? What are some like recommendations you could give to people?
Yeah, so I feel like I think the best way to answer that question is to understand why people choose fast food, right? And
Mm.
that's because it's convenient, it's
Convenience, yeah.
quick, it's cheap, and it's tasty.
Mm.
So, how can we find healthy food that ticks all of those boxes, right? So, as I said, meal prep is the best way to go,
Mm.
but like it's simple. It doesn't have to be complicated. As I
Yeah.
said, choose your vegetables, choose your cruciferous vegetables, which are the best for detoxification.
Mm.
Could be your cabbage, your Brussels sprouts, could be your broccoli, whatever it might be. Choose your protein. It could be animal based protein or, good quality. We're talking organic chicken or grass fed beef. although I'm not the biggest proponent of eating too much red meat, very often.
Mm.
But, your protein, then your healthy fats, it could be a little bit of olive oil, avocado, whatever it might be, and that's it. That's your lunch, right?
Yeah.
And so what I've noticed is that a lot of people were getting bored of eating healthy because a lot of people think that eating healthy is a salad, right? Like lettuce, tomatoes, and cucumber.
Yeah.
But it's not that. It really is not. And so what I did is that I created this membership platform with loads of recipes. And so we have over like 200 recipes, all dairy free,
All the flavor.
all the flavor, all
Yeah.
gluten free, and easy. And they're all divided into different categories. So we have like the sauces
Mm.
category, we have meal prep recipes, weekday recipes, which are the quick ones, weekend recipes, brunch recipes, weight loss recipes, and they're all provided in video format. So people can
Yeah.
actually watch me making the recipe and they can follow along.
Yeah.
And people have found so much value because they're starting to understand that you can actually eat a delicious meal
Definitely.
and, a very healthy and balanced meal.
Which brings me on to people focus so much on macros. Everything's
Mm,
macros. It's macros, carbs, fats, protein, which to a degree, definitely, yeah. I feel like you definitely do need to sort of get a rough idea of the amount of macros that
I
you are
agree.
consuming if whatever your goals are, whether that be to gain weight or lose weight.
Mhm.
But the importance is your micronutrients. You can beat them these big macronutrients and they're just almost like empty calories. There's not much nutritional value in food that you're eating. So why is focusing on micronutrients important?
So, as you rightly said, macros are your carbs, your fat, your protein, and your micronutrients are what nourish your
Mm,
cells. So they are your vitamins. So we have the fat soluble vitamins. So we have vitamin A, vitamin D, E, K, etc. And then we have the water soluble vitamins. So all of your B vitamins, your vitamin C, etc. And then we have our minerals. So we have our electrolytes, right? Then we have other minerals like zinc, we have selenium, all of that. And it's just so important because the macros will give you the fuel.
mm.
And your body can survive with just macros. If you just feed it empty calories, it will survive because it's getting energy from that. But that does not mean that it's thriving
Mm.
because you're literally not nourishing your cells. So what's going to happen in the long term if you don't nourish your cells? Right? And so that's a problem because a lot of people, especially in your field, in the fitness field, you know how it is. Most
Yeah,
people they just focus on the macros and that is a very simplistic way of looking at your health.
definitely. Yeah. I feel like I'm not really a big advocate of protein supplements. And I feel like it's the big trend now of like these protein yogurts, protein bars to just sort of bump up the protein numbers is where I'm not really.
Just look at the
Yeah,
ingredients. Look
exactly.
at the back, look at the nutrition
Exactly,
label
yeah.
of that.
Definitely, yeah. So I feel like if I am focusing on just protein alone as a macronutrient, I'm trying to get that from like whole food sources, some nice clean meats, and even like some nice quality yogurts as well. So we've got several more pathways from our gut to the brain. So the importance of our nutrition and how it impacts our mental health. How important is that?
How our gut affects our brain.
Yeah, how it affects it can affect, we spoke about it affecting our serotonin levels because it's
Yeah,
produced in the gut, but I think on a deeper level as well, people don't realise how either good or bad they can feel from just foods that they're
for
consuming.
sure.
Yeah,
For sure, because think about it. I mean, if you're eating just an animal based diet of just meat, a lot of people in the carnivore diet, you know, they are shrinking their microbiome. That's what they don't understand. They are shrinking their microbiome. And if you shrink your microbiome, that's going to affect your mental health
mm,
straight. Straight, because as we said, there is a connection, the gut brain axis physically and chemically. And so, and also if you're eating inflammatory foods, that's going to create systemic inflammation in the brain. And even people eating food that they're sensitive to,
yeah.
that's going to create systemic inflammation and you're going to feel foggy. You're not going to be able to concentrate. You're going to start to forget things more often. You're going to be distracted all the time. You're just not going to feel like your
And again,
best
I feel like
self.
there are certain symptoms that people just sort of associate as being normal,
Huh,
but they're just not. They're genuinely not. S-
exactly.
Yeah, so just touching on like mental health and the mindset sort of thing. So I know you recently went to a Joe Dispenza workshop,
Mm.
and I'm a huge like big fan of Joe Dispenza as well. I went to a 1 day one, but was it 5 days?
It
Like
was 7 days.
7 days.
7
Wow,
days. And I've been
amazing.
to two. So I've been to the one in San Diego in California. That was my
Okay.
first one. And then I went to the one in London. Now, It's so difficult to put into words. It's
Yeah,
so hard because, they are very intense. Like, you start at 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning and you finish at like 8 at night. You go all in.
long days.
You go all in. It's
Yeah.
it's really deep, and it has been one of the best experiences in my life for sure. And I'm planning to go to another one this year. So he's doing one in December, in Cancun, which I'm hoping I can get tickets because the tickets get sold out
Mm,
within like minutes. And
yeah.
so for me, the biggest thing really was, he taught me how to be more of the creator of my life
Okay.
and less of the victim of my life. And he teaches you how to create anything that you want, whether that is more wealth, health, a new relationship, a new job, a changing career, whatever it might be. Like, the sky is the limit. Like, you choose. What do you want to create in your life?
Yeah.
You come to the event. What do you want to create? And you're going to create that because, he teaches us how to create from a different place, because most people, they create from lack. They wait for their health to feel whole and to feel gratitude. They wait for their success to feel empowered. They wait for the mystical experience to feel awe. They wait for the relationship to feel love.
Mm,
And so most people are creating from lack, from separation, right? It's the Newtonian model of cause and effect. And so, if you want to create that way, sure. But is there another way?
mm,
Right? And that is what he teaches us. And so, what I discovered is that the moment that you start to feel whole and gratitude, that's when your healing begins.
mm.
The moment that you start to feel abundant, that's when you're generating wealth. The moment that you fall in love with life and you fall in love with yourself, that is when the new relationship comes. And so, what happens is that when you create from that place of wholeness, the separation, the distance between where you are and where you want to go, it just shortens massively
Mm.
because you create a vibrational match between you, your energy, and the energy of that potential. And when that happens, it's a
It's
completely
magic.
different game. When you get into that game,
Yeah.
you just don't want to get out. And I saw
Yeah.
it myself when I aligned my energy. I started to see
Mm,
serendipities, coincidence. I was suddenly in the right place at the right time. Things were just flowing to
yeah,
me, and I
definitely.
learned, if there's one lesson that I learned, is that change your energy, you change your life.
Yeah, flow state. Something that I've got a little nephew now who's 9, and something that like I've been telling him so much is he can be and do anything he wants to be as long as he like adapts his mindset and focus on it and puts the work in, which I feel like we're not really told that when we're younger. Like changing our state is so important. When you change your state, like what you're saying, you start to attract these situations and people, environments, you just sort of they're drawn to you a
You
lot more
create the momentum,
organically.
right?
Yeah, the momentum we were speaking about, the success cycle.
Yeah,
But I know I've spoke that to you, but I think it's worth mentioning. You can create momentum positively and negatively. There's where some people might create the momentum of not exercising, not getting out of bed of a morning, eating poor nutritional choices, and like that then becomes a spiral, a downward spiral of momentum.
for sure.
That's not working
Because
for them.
it's all about energy, and what I love about Joe Dispenza is that he kind of bridges, spirituality and science.
Mm,
And there's nothing to believe. Do you believe in science?
mm,
You know what I mean? And so it's all about quantum physics. You're always offering a vibration, whether you want it or not. And so if you're offering a negative vibration, if you're constantly complaining about why things are not working, you're
yeah,
just going to attract more of that. That is how it works. And I've seen it play in my own life.
definitely. Personally, I have myself as well. And it wasn't only till I started this journey. And I've heard this quote quite a lot, but it really didn't resonate with me until like I started my journey was a glass half empty or a glass half full. And so many people, without even realizing it, without having the awareness of probably their own mindset and what they're saying, they are a glass half empty. Everything's like looking at the negative. But when you switch your perspective and start to like even bad situations, trying to see the positive in them, you become so much happier within yourself.
So much
It
happier.
it's a big pivotal moment within your life,
Mhm.
100%.
And it's what you said, it's perspective. And
Definitely.
perspective, it comes down to mindset. I truly believe that mindset is the foundation of your life. Mindset is
Yeah.
what you get out of your life. Mindset is the value that you get out of your life. Mindset is, you know, pushing yourself beyond
Mm.
your limits. Mindset is getting up when you fall down. Mindset is showing up for yourself even when you don't want to. Those hardest days,
Mm.
they are the ones that matter the
When you
most.
count.
Because if success comes easy to you, I truly
Mm.
believe that's not a good thing.
Yeah.
Because you have to set the infrastructure, the foundation, so you
Mm.
can grow. And a lot of that comes with hardship.
Yeah.
And so that's why I truly believe that mindset, it is the foundation of your life.
Definitely. And it doesn't come easy. It takes a lot of time and consistency. And like the example I'd like to use, if you go to the gym and do one gym session, you're not just gonna all of a sudden have the six pack and have all the strength gains. It takes consistent effort working at the gym, and the mindset is the exact same. Another quote that I like is, if you walk 10 miles into the woods, you need to walk 10 miles out. So if you've lived, say, 20, 30, 40, even 50 years of your life with certain programming and a certain mindset, you can't just listen to one podcast and all of a sudden you're fixed. It's going to take consistent effort, daily work.
And that's a minority of people that are willing to do that.
Yeah. And because it's hard, it does take effort. And sometimes, like you're saying, if you have them bad days, it's just easier to fall back into the old ways of like, this'll do.
For sure. And I believe that the environment plays a massive role in that,
Definitely.
because you are the average of the 5 people that you surround yourself the most
100%.
with.
Yeah. And like,
So I encourage everybody listening to this
yeah.
to evaluate,
Mm.
who are you spending your time with? Are these people the kind of people that are pushing you,
Feeding you.
feeding you,
Yeah.
feeding your energy, or are they draining your energy?
Mm.
Are they pushing you to become the best version of yourself?
Yeah.
Or are they just accepting who you are? Because some people, yeah, sure, there's a benefit to acceptance, but if they're just accepting you as you are, they're not encouraging you to become the best version of yourself,
Yeah.
right? And so for me, I had to take a look at my environment, and I had to cut a lot of people from my life. A
Mm.
lot of people from my life. And now I'm just so crystal clear of who I want to surround myself with. I
Mm.
just want to surround myself with highly intellectual people that will help me get to that next level,
And inspire you.
inspire me,
People
and
who
that believe
inspire.
in me as well.
Definitely, yeah. I think as well that it's important to have them people around you who are all supportive. Having a supportive group around you who are happy to see you doing well. But I feel like, again, that's a reflection of yourself. I feel like once you become happy within yourself, you're then truly happy for people around. There is no competition because you understand you are the competition. If you can help somebody left and right, I'm a big believer in karma. I feel like if I can help as many people as they can,
That's really
it'll come
important,
back in
because you
different
can't
ways for me.
expect, to surround yourself with people and get a lot of value from them if you don't have anything to offer back. And sometimes maybe you don't have a network to offer, or, you know, contacts to offer, but maybe what you can offer is, I believe in you.
Mm,
Maybe you can offer your kindness. What can I do to support you?
mm,
How can I help? Like, I'm here to help you. And that is how you build relationships, because most people tell me, but I don't have anything to offer. What do you mean you don't have anything to offer? You have
mm.
so much to offer, right?
Yeah, definitely. So I feel like there's been loads of gems listed with gems. I feel like I'm going to have to listen to this again to really absorb some of the information that's being getting spoke about. But I feel like it's just a good way to sort of end and give a little bit more value. A couple of top tips.
Sure, let's do
So
it.
a nutritional shift that can help men and women support the hormones.
Um, it has to be protein.
Okay.
Increase protein.
Mm,
So, I would say, if you do mild exercise, 1 gram of protein per kilogram of body weight. Moderate exercise, 1.3 grams. If someone, exercise quite intensely, that would be around 1.6. But protein, especially starting your day with protein, that's going to help regulate your metabolism, your blood sugar, which is then going
mm.
to have an impact on your hormones.
Okay. And personally, I love to train every morning. I feel like when I train every morning, it sets myself up for the day physically, mentally, in every single way. Optimal time to train.
This really depends on the body type. If
Okay.
you're the more of the Vata body type in Ayurveda, more of the ectomorph, like a thin body type, they tend to have a very overactive nervous system. So maybe training first thing in the morning, especially on a fasted state, might not be the best thing, because that's a big stressor for the nervous system. But if you're more of the kapha body type, those body types that they look at carbs and they gain weight. They gain weight very easily.
Mm,
Then working out first thing in the morning can actually be a really good thing. So it all
okay.
depends on your body type and your goals as well.
Yeah, another big thing as well is how you feel. Same with foods, certain foods, same with your training. That's how you feel. I think we're influenced so much by there's so much information out now.
Hmm.
If you train every morning, that's making you feel good. Do more of it. If you eat certain foods, they make you feel bad. Do less of it.
Hmm.
So I think that's a big thing for me. I love a morning session. So I done my 10 essentials with the lads a couple of weeks ago, and one of my essentials was Apple devices. I love my Apple devices. Watch, even
Your
though
Apple Watch?
yeah, I've lost it, but my iPad and my Mac. So if you've got one gadget that you're obsessed with, what is it?
The Oura
The
Ring.
Oura Ring.
It has to be the Oura Ring.
Okay.
And they're not paying me to say this, by the
Yeah, yeah,
way.
yeah.
But it's one of those things that, because I feel like these gadgets, they help keep our Western minds entertained.
Mm,
And there's something really powerful about having real data, like real time data about, on your health, because it
mm.
encourages you to make better decisions, right? And for
Definitely, yeah.
me, Oura Ring has been transformational because it's not only about the hours that you sleep, it's the quality of your sleep. Like, what's your heart rate? What's your body temperature?
Yeah.
What's your REM sleep? What's your deep
Deep
sleep?
sleep, yeah.
Like, all of those metrics are so crucial to see if your body is repairing. Are you restoring your body? Are you rejuvenating your body? So, the Oura Ring, for now,
The
it has
go-to.
to be the Oura Ring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I did have a Whoop.
Whoop is great more
Yeah.
for like activity and fitness.
Mm,
So I think that is really good for that. I don't think the Oura Ring is great for that. So I would choose different gadgets depending on what your goals are.
okay. And then my final question. What is a food or foods that people should stay away from?
One food,
Let's go for it.
it's hard to make the between dairy and gluten. Let me think.
As long as it's not
Um
sourdough bread.
I would love to say the opposite because I love
No,
it.
yeah, it's the
I love
best.
it. I have to go with dairy.
Okay.
So dairy would be cheese, yogurt, you know, milk, all of that, because the protein in dairy, casein, has been linked to cancer for sure. Because the protein is very difficult to digest in in the digestive tract,
Mm,
and so it ferments and it creates these very harmful carcinogenic metabolites.
okay.
So especially when it comes to like colon cancer, really bad. And dairy is a highly acidic food as well. Doctors tell you drink dairy to get your calcium, to get your bones strong, but they don't understand that dairy is a
Yeah.
highly acidic food. So the moment that you drink calcium, your body is actually going to take buffers like minerals from your bones, like calcium,
Wow.
to buffer out that acidity. So you might be taking some calcium in, but you are actually using more calcium to buffer out that acidity. And honestly, all of our customers, they say the moment that I took out dairy, my life changed.
Wow. I feel like I'm going to the only, if I'm being honest, the only dairy I have is chocolate. I don't really consume
And how
much.
often do you have it?
Sometimes. Probably more than I should.
Why don't you go for dairy-free chocolate? There
Okay.
are delicious
Okay.
chocolates out there,
I'll have to
brands that they
research
are
some alternatives,
dairy-free
definitely,
for
yeah.
sure.
Okay,
For
definitely, yeah.
sure.
I'll
I'll
make
send you some
Thank you.
recommendations.
Yeah. So it's been amazing. Really, really enjoyed the conversation and thank you so much for coming down. I know you mentioned again for the listeners for a bit of a discount code for any of the listeners. So
Yeah, for sure. So, first of all, thank you so much for having me.
you're
It was an
welcome.
absolute pleasure. So, right now, so for all of your listeners, we are offering an incredible discount on all of our lab tests, our at-home lab tests.
Amazing.
And you can use the code APEX10. We can also link it up in the episode show notes page.
Okay.
And yeah, so you can find me. We are very active in social media. So you
Mm,
can find us at Syngerised UK with an S. Our website is Syngerised UK, and we have all of our lab test offerings there. We have health coaching services, nutritional supplements. We have a membership platform with all of
mm.
the recipes, meditations, everything. And then I also have my own podcast. So I am a podcast host as well. And it's called The Health Formula Show. And we release 3 episodes weekly. And we talk, about everything, all things health, wellness, anti aging, longevity, Ayurveda, gut health, nutrition, hormones. I mean, you name it, everything.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tom.